The Electric Pies put the Hawks to the sword as the footy world prayed for the best for Cal Ward. The Cats and the Lions escaped with a fright, while Freo's season is just starting to look bright. The 05 Swans caught up for a babble, but their contemporaries played like an absolute rabble. The Crows showed off their attacking persona, and Rochelli's playing through balls like he's from Barcelona. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub with Joey, Daisy and Damo. And Joey and Damo, we'll start with you two. Good morning.
Good morning, Will. I can't believe you called the Sydney Swans a rabble. You owe them an apology.
Just quoting.
You cannot do that.
I'm just quoting Wayne Miller.
Hello to you, Will.
How are you, Damo?
I'm well, thank you.
And, of course, congratulations to Rabs, the man whose seat I'm filling, and his partner Em for the birth of their baby Josephine on
beautiful.
Saturday night. So congratulations to those
Beautiful
two.
news.
Yes, well done.
Is it the
Rabsy.
first time we've had a word so big as persona in the rhyming intro?
Possibly. Contemporaries are snuck in there as well.
Oh,
A few
right,
syllables.
don't get too carried away.
Yeah, ahead of myself. Daisy, how's your week been?
It's been eventful, I think we could probably say. Pretty stock standard until last night, but looking forward to another big weekend of footy coming up.
Good to see you, Daisy.
Thanks.
We'll have to start there, Dave. It's Triple M. So I know there's lawyers
You
at...
can all drop the laughter. all right?
Sorry.
Thank you.
There's lawyers at 10 paces, and we get that. But we will be serious for a moment with it, because what you are referring to was dropped on Channel 9 last night by Tom Morris, and officially, as per the reporting, Joey?
Yeah, this was the tweet that Tom Morris put out. The 4 umpires involved in the Lockie Schultz concussion debacle 3 weeks ago are considering legal action against Kane Corns, Luke Hodge and Dale Thomas for comments made days later.
So, Dave, we know you won't be able to engage in this, and we understand that. And just this is Triple M. We do talk about these matters when they're in front of
that's
one of
fine.
our own, but we
Absolutely.
will be serious for a moment. So, I'm assuming that's what you've been told today by your people.
Yeah, well, as it stands, what do we time code this at 10:10 on the Wednesday morning? I haven't received any formal documents from anyone, but because it is, and I am aware of the statement that's been made and the report, I honestly can't say anything more until more information or anything else is brought to light. So unfortunately, I can't give any greater insight to it, but that's as much as I can say.
And it pertains, Joey, to comments made clearly on Agenda Setters after the Lockie Schultz. It was an exclusive story on Agenda Setters when the night the audio of the umpires was played. Look, I think from a Triple M perspective, as always is the case with these matters when lawyers are involved, we'll let the lawyers sort it out. But as we do on Triple M, when one of our owners is involved in it, we do raise it. And
We've raised it.
You're front and centre right now, Dave.
He can just sit there. He can't say. I think. What's your take? Where do you think it goes? From here?
Again, I'm
You've
not
been-
going to try and preempt. Well, I don't know the specifics of the case. So I do know there's a lot of threats go around historically. I can speak personally.
You ever been sued?
Never been sued, but I've been threatened to be sued. I was trying to think this when you asked me this off air. There'd be at least 15 occasions
Really?
I could readily remember being threatened to, but never. Again, that's got nothing to do with what might happen here with this latest one. But no, I mean, it happens, and people have got every single right, as the umpires have on this occasion, to explore whatever possibilities they think are available to them under the law. So, and then we'll just let that one play out. But I think it is important, though, Joey, because we were waiting for a moment, weren't we? It's taken 12 weeks. You and I were waiting for a moment for there to be something in common with our man Daisy and the Corn. And it's taken the umpires to bring Daisy and Corn together.
They are together. Yes, it's bounced off each other, and they're in there. And well, I don't know where to go with it. It's a bit of an awkward one, but not sure.
I just like the fact they've got something in common.
So we can officially put that's the serious part of the
put
show
it
out the way.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. I
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
How's your eye?
Good deflection, good change of subject. The eye healed up really well, thank you. I know you were both concerned last week on the Midweek Rub, but I didn't have to go to a doctor. It healed up pretty well, and as you can see there, just another scar, Daisy, to add to the face. So there's plenty there, but no, thank you for your concern. It was all good. I want to ask you about your week, because last week you should have done a double invoice. We had to call the game Melbourne and St Kilda from the studio. Of course, it was the Alice Springs game. And I hope you don't mind, Damo. We had to do one studio call here.
No, radio's okay. You're not trying to convince the people you...
Again, that's something in common. Joey, Triple M, has in common with Joey on Fox now. Loves a studio call.
Oh, he's back. He's solid for 10 minutes.
Oh, there you go. You're quiet for 10 seconds. That's good. But there was a lot of feedback after the call, because you might have double invoiced because of
misconception this, but let's listen to
Let's
it.
take a listen first, Damo.
Sunny, it is beautiful. Let's head down to the boundary to Paul Tresize with the ground conditions.
Yeah, g'day guys, great to be here. Obviously you guys back in the studio, but up here in the Alice, magnificent day as you said, Nathan. 19.5 degrees, sunny, perfect conditions for football. The subs have come in. It is Bailey Laurie for the D's, and if you jump across the page, you can put a line through number 18, Jack Carroll. Now, a little fun fact about this one, both sides chartered a flight up from Melbourne getting into the Alice yesterday. Both Melbourne and St Kilda players on the same flight, if you can believe that. We've just had the toss. The Saints are going to kick to the big truck end. That's the right of your dial. I look forward to joining you boys throughout the call, throughout the rest of the day.
Nice one, Paulie, for Bob Jones.
So I got some text throughout the day saying, "Are you Paulie Tresize?"
Your split personality came
I
out.
was like, well, he sounds like me, but no, I wasn't up in the Alice. Paulie was on deck in the Alice, and he was doing a fantastic job. So the big truck end got me by surprise, because then you see the big road train up one end. So I think we found one there in Paulie.
What did you think, Damo? What do you think of Paulie Tresize on debut for Triple M? Do you think Mickey Roberts has anything to worry about?
That's my first sampling of Paulie's work. A bit nasally.
Informative, though.
Informative.
Yeah.
I thought
Very
that
good
that
boundary
good.
riding.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure about the impersonation, the voice, but
You can't question someone. We all sound different.
Has he
just
got another
Paulie.
gig on the Triple M
Well,
roster?
we were wondering whether Paul Tresize might make another appearance at some stage.
Maybe just for periods of a game, maybe not a full game.
Yeah,
Maybe
we can get him in there. It was very entertaining.
Did
But-
Paulie? Did he have a second job? Was he employed during the week?
Nath asked the question at some stage late in the game. I think he said he worked for the local rag up there.
Oh, right.
it was
local.
One of the
it got us through.
publications.
It got us through the game.
Yeah, no, thanks, Paulie, for your help up there on the weekend. Really informative.
Predictions to come, as well as fair dinkum or Fugazi. Damo's news next, including Jamara Ugelhagen and James Sicily. That's all on Triple M's Midweek Rub, thanks to BWS. Predictions to come, as well as fair dinkum or Fugazi, but we start with Damo's news. And Damo, Greg Swan is on the run sheet.
Yeah, he is, Will, because the AFL this week officially appointed him the 26-year Clubland, I'll say legend in the CEO space at 3 footy clubs, Collingwood, Carlton, and most pertinently and successfully Brisbane Lions. When he got there in 2014, they were a mess. He was able to bring Chris Fagan in a couple of years after that, and look what has now happened to that footy club. They've actually played in the last 5 grand finals, if you throw the women's competition into the mix from the Lions' perspective, and they're as successful as any footy club on and off field right now. They've identified him in the AFL to fix the operations in football at the AFL. The splitting of the Laura Kane role was what Andrew Dillon chose to do last week. He did so with Greg Swan in mind to replace the performance part of the role. He was going to make the change regardless. He wanted Greg Swan to do it. He was able to convince him in a pretty short period of time to do so. And as we talk, and you've already time-coded this show, Days, it's 10:17 on Wednesday. As we talk, they're now in pursuit of Tom Harley, the CEO at the Sydney Swans, to fill effectively the 2IC role, or the Chief Operating Officer role that has been open now for some time, but they want to do that in the next 24 hours to maybe 48 hours. Tom Harley's the man of interest there.
Yeah, good. Well, swift action. They needed it. We need to fix footy. I don't know Greg Swan, but from all reports, he's going to be elite at this role. So that's great for the AFL, and Tom Harley comes in highly credentialed. So it's great that they're taking action, and hopefully they can pretty quickly just start to rejig a few things. Probably start with your tribunal at some stage.
That is
Damo, that would be
number
on,
one.
that'd be on the
Yeah,
top
if
of
you
the
throw the
agenda.
match review office and the tribunal into the one topic, that is number one item for Greg Swan. And he actually said that during the week. Yeah. Umpires and umpires' relationships is another one. And there's an issue, as we just discussed, that he may have to get involved in as well. But that they are probably 1 and 2, but there's lots of areas of concern. And what do you identify, Days?
Well, I actually know Greg quite well. He was my landlord when I first got to
really?
Collingwood, lived
Yeah.
out the back of his house.
That's right.
Apart
What
from
type of landlord was he? A good landlord? Like, did he let you make a mess and throw parties and all that? You rat pack?
not so much parties. Pendles was the other rentee down there. So
no parties.
no parties.
Only when Pendles went home for the weekend. He'd throw one.
But
Wage of food.
He's been a popular choice because I think anyone who comes from the footy landscape as a CEO and respected CEO and been around the game long enough, he's a footballer. He played some decent enough footy for Williamstown back in the day. He's got a real good sense for the game and what it needs, and the frustrations that lie, obviously, him being at Brisbane, across the competition from a clubland point of view. He's, no fuss sort of operator. If he makes a mistake, I'm sure he'll be putting his hand up. But I think the best thing that he will do, he'll make sure that everything has a good process, a clear process, and it's, this is what we've done, this is what we're going to do. And I think for the most part, and I'm pretty confident that he will get it right, and this will continue to be the best thing the AFL's done in a long time. Laura Kane, obviously, the shift across in her role. People are saying, is it the right thing? Is it a demotion? Can it be two truths existing here? It's a great thing for the AFL that they've got Greg Swan under that sort of banner of the MRO and his strong suit, and they go to Laura Kane under the portfolio now of what is really her strong suit, and she's demonstrated, especially around the sort of mental health and the health model that's going into it. Her role, but that's been behind the scenes in some of the big issues over the past 12 months with some key players from key clubs that you can probably draw a correlation between. She's been massive behind the scenes in that and sorting that out. So I think it's a world where both things and both parties will be happy, and onwards and upwards for the AFL.
Yep, I agree. I spoke with Greg Swan, and it's on afl.com.au now with some of what he said. He's going to listen to the clubs, Joey and Days.
And that's a big issue, wasn't it?
That's the issue. Yeah. That's why we've got to this point. That
and
the clubs
the
felt
call.
they weren't being listened to. He'll answer the call, but most importantly, he will return it. And just speak to any club in the past 2 years, they feel they weren't being listened to, but they just couldn't get return calls.
And the fact that he's going to pick the phone up, that doesn't mean the clubs ring and just get what they want.
No.
It'll be, I understand your point of view, I'm sure. But this is where we stand, and this will be consistent. And I think that consistency from a fan's point of view, a club point of view, coach's point of view, it just makes the whole thing a lot easier.
He will, I believe, too, be more visual when it comes to representing the AFL. If they make a mistake, he will, I think, be able to put the chest out and say, we got that wrong. And I think that takes a lot of heat out of issues rather than what we saw with Lachie Schultz, where they needed 3 statements to cover up other issues they said. So I think it's a really good appointment.
He goes with the Brisbane Lions blessing as well.
He does. He signed after the grand final last year.
Probably makes it easier they won the flag.
They've got the premiership in there. Here's your club. It is in great order. Onwards.
10 million in the bank come Christmas. Beautiful new facility, about to get a beautiful new venue to play footy and after the Olympics. And again, just remind people, when he got there in 2014, this club was, I won't say it's on its knees, but it was broken. It was broken. So he's turned it around in the space of 11 seasons. Days, you played a lot of footy, particularly late in your career, injured. I raise that because James Sicily has been injured now for some weeks. Sam Mitchell so angrily, or I should say defiantly, defended him publicly last week. We get through another game of footy where he didn't perform to expectation. They've now said he's going to miss at least 2 weeks with what is a hip issue, not the groin injury, which a lot of people have been saying, myself included, and maintain. But I just raise it from the context of how hard is it for a person of profile to play when you are sore, when you're not performing, and your club starts to lose matches?
Well, the first part of it, I think because we were all so specific on the groin, Sam Mitchell did a really good job of saying he doesn't have a groin issue. And nobody sort of then was keen to elaborate and make it more
abdominal and hip.
But, correct.
Injury.
But to your question, it does become hard because James Sicily is clearly still in their best 22 if he isn't at his absolute best. It's just the fact that your performance probably lowers a little bit from the standards that you've set for yourself, and the expectation then becomes that from the broader public. I still don't understand why we don't have some more clarity. Yeah, he's out there. He's a bit banged up at the minute, so you're probably not going to get the best version of him. But for us, he's our captain. He can still have impact behind the footy, ahead of the footy, and until that changes, just deal with the fact that he might not be at his 100% output on game day.
It was interesting, even last night on your show, Sam Mitchell was on, and he still didn't make excuses. He said there was never a game where we were concerned about picking him. He was fit to play in every game, but
why is he not fit now, Joey?
He said it flared up on the game on the weekend.
Yeah,
so
I'm not buying that.
But also, saying that, though, a lot of players do play through injury, but if you're playing well, you keep playing and work through it. Now, when your form drops away, which he's has, that's when you maybe
prior
start
to the weekend just
making
gone.
A decision and say, right, maybe it's now in the best interest to have a few weeks off. But there'd be a lot of players that are playing through injuries that their form's not as bad, so it's not obvious and no one brings it up. But that's part and parcel of footy. But look, it's the right thing, I think, for him now to freshen up, both probably physically and also mentally. I reckon it's taken a toll a bit on him as the captain, and a bit of heat come his way. So hopefully he just can freshen up for a few weeks mentally, physically, come back after the bye, and Hawks can launch again.
And no doubt there's probably some man management in that as well. Let's try and get you through to the bye. All right, it's not going to happen. Can we have you at 80% against the Western Bulldogs or Adelaide, who do move the ball very quickly? No. All right, take those 2 weeks plus the bye, and we'll see you after that. And that should be enough, hopefully, for him and Hawks fans to have him playing best footy.
The circus, and I'm happy to use that word when it comes to aspects, not every aspect, but aspects of the Jamara Ugle-Hagan situation continued during the week. I raise it because he's used his own social media platforms again to let the world know that he's having a bit of a fitness regime up there in Byron Bay. I mean, good on him. He's supposedly a professional athlete and he's doing some fitness. There's a lot of carry on about it. Not playing still, indefinitely away from the Western Bulldogs, contracted for that period. But look, he's not going to be playing by way of my reckoning for the Bulldogs again. And the Sydney Swans, as we've been saying on this show for some weeks, are looming as a potential new home.
No, he's cleverly used his social media to edit some clips of him training. But you know what? It's good to see that he's doing something, and it's probably better seeing that on Instagram than seeing photos of him being out and that sort of stuff. And hopefully he's going okay mentally as well as physically. But yeah, you can't take much into what he's doing at the moment. I've got no doubts he won't play again for the Western Bulldogs this season. But hopefully for his sake, he does enough work that when he does start meeting with clubs at the end of the year in regards to maybe what next year looks like, a club is confident enough that he'll do the work and will be in a shape to play next season.
Yeah, the last thing anyone, and especially for himself and the game, needs is for that side of it to not get the second opportunity. I hope this time away from the game has helped him get into a point within himself that he knows and understands what's required of him to play at the highest level, and has really lit that fire again, the old fire in the belly, to get back out and be his best. Because if he does reach his full potential, I'm very excited to see how that looks.
Yep. Time code this show for a third time already at 10:25 because there's issues again.
Do I have to do this with my life from now on?
It saves you. Of an adverse nature, potentially from the Tasmanian Football Club perspective.
Oh, yes.
Overnight, Brent Costello down there reporting in Tassie that there's a potential overthrow of the government effectively. But again, from a footy perspective, what that does to the need to have solidarity on the stadium being built, it's just another layer of complexity to the whole situation. And look, we're certainly no closer as a result of whatever unfolds today on this Wednesday of this week with the Tasmanian Parliament to getting this AFL issue closer to resolution. We're moving further away from it because there's other aspects and issues at play which ultimately are, when it's all said and done, for the importance and state of Tasmania, more important than this particular one.
So they could have a new premier by this afternoon.
Potentially.
That's where they're leaning with it.
Jeremy Rockcliffe, is that?
Yep.
So I put the thing out a couple of days ago when Brendan Gale put the stadium up, and how good is this? Look, can't wait for Tassie. And just putting my layman's terms on a lot of the issues and what I thought. Jeremy Rockcliffe was one to comment on my post as saying, I couldn't have said it better myself, mate.
Follows Daisy Mail.
He does.
Wow.
But you can clearly see that there's the divide within it.
Yeah.
There's a premier who wants it so badly, and there's obviously so much pushback from below.
Officially, the party that's making the moves here still supports in the big picture the AFL project, but there's politics at play, and there's other parties involved in this play today. The statement, and this has only been released this morning from the Tasmanian Football Club, the political uncertainty that is currently unfolding in the Tasmanian Parliament is of great concern to Tasmanian Football Club. Like the rest of the community, we are unsure what will happen today and what the impacts of any actions taken might be. What we do know is that uncertainty presents a serious risk for jobs, investment and growth, and for the future of Tasmanian Football Club. And just one more, Joey, they have always tried to stay out of the politics of this, and there is a further statement along those lines, but they're acknowledging the seriousness of this action.
Can I ask you off the cuff this question? So would the AFL be thinking it is absolutely essential to have a team in Tasmania? I know they've in goodwill and they want the team there, and they've given the Tasmanian state every chance to do it together. But would they be like completely disappointed if this fell over, the AFL? Like, are they adamant they want the 19th team, or was it just more of a, well, let's get a team up and going out of goodwill?
I feel
and
it was
be great for the competition.
It was a political exercise. Yes, they always have acknowledged the history and the great history, the beautiful history of Tasmania. That what they've done, I think, quite cleverly from a strategy point of view, is put it back onto the state.
Yeah.
You sort out your issues, which why I think it's semi-genius to have always said, this licence is predicated on providing this stadium with the roof in this part of Hobart.
Yeah.
Everything else spins off that, and until you get that, there's no team. So I think you've raised a really pertinent question. There's a lot of people in football who are worried.
If you really want a team, you'll come together as a state, you'll do this, and you'll be all in.
And they haven't yet done that.
What was your comments last week about the AFL then overriding potentially the discussions down there? Was that in relation to this?
Overriding.
Like the politics of it all?
Was that the cricket element to the stadium?
Maybe that was it,
I
yeah.
think there was a statement made by Cricket Australia. They didn't like the stadium, but Cricket Australia's had nothing to do with it. The AFL will override cricket when it comes to the negotiations.
Tips to come, including some huge games across round 13 this coming weekend. But up next, it's Fair Dinkum or Fugazi on Triple M's Midweek Rub with Joey, Daisy and Damo. Just to stay out of trouble, I'll play audio for this first one. So, Joey, this is Wayne Miller.
You could sort of feel it as a group, you know, when we were all over them in the first half, and, you know, that was sort of a bit of a rabble just hearing from them on ground.
Joey, there was absolutely nothing wrong with Wayne Miller's rabble comment post-game against the Swans.
Yeah, I feel bad for Wayne Miller. I mean, he's obviously not a polished media performer like Daisy. He just used the word, a bit of a rabble just to describe what was happening on the field, which we could all see with our own eyes anyway. So I feel for Wayne Miller, nothing to worry about. Shouldn't have apologised.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's only one person who had an issue with it. It was your Foxtel mate, Jack Revolt.
I think so. He was quite strong, wasn't he?
But even that, like, you got to understand that there was no
he wasn't being nasty,
disrespectful or malice in the comments.
No,
it was just an honest assessment of what he saw. And you know, if you're providing that sort of insight from a player on the ground, more of it.
And you know what it does, doesn't it? It means a player next time players want to speak, they go, "No, I'm not going to speak. I'm going to say nothing."
I made sure I listened back to the full audio, and you're right, Daze. It was in context. The question wasn't loaded. It was a good question on ABC
and
Radio.
a great answer.
And a great answer. And I didn't think that Tim Silvers, the CEO of the Crows, needed to ring the counterpart there at the Swans, Tom Harley, to apologise effectively. So I think we were all big enough to move on.
Damo, Marcus Windhager delivered the tagging performance of the season so far in Alice Springs. He kept Cozzy Pickett to 12 touches and no goals, while collecting 28 touches and 5 clearances himself.
Yeah, I think that's fair dinkum. We've been lauding the work in that space of Clayton Oliver in previous weeks, but nothing to the absolute shutdown effect that Windhager had on one of the, I think, players of the season in Cozzy Pickett, who I think is shaping up, even with that bad performance on the weekend, to be an All-Australian forward.
Yeah, Paul Trezise had the best seat in the house, and he said it was a dominant display by Windhager.
Paulie, big fan, yes. Daisy, humour
you
cluggage.
Paulie?
No, that's just my impression. Daisy, humour cluggage will almost certainly make the All-Australian extended squad. He is on track to become a bridesmaid for a record 5th time without making the final team.
Surely gets
They
it.
couldn't do that, could they?
No,
That'd be
you couldn't.
cruel.
I'm just going to go officially with no comment here, because the only comment I'm going to make is around potentially missing games. So
From here on.
It'd be cruel to put him in the squad again for a 5th time and not make
if
the
he's
team.
in the squad, he makes the team
Yes,
because he's playing the footy he is now for the entirety of the season. The only way that doesn't happen is for reasons I don't want to put into the universe.
Nice, good call. Joey, Fremantle is currently more likely to make the 8 than Hawthorn.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Right now, as we sit here, time code this on Wednesday. 10. I think that is correct. Fremantle have got a really good run the next 3 weeks, all at home against North Melbourne, Essendon and Port Adelaide, pretty sure. So
It's an away match against North too at Optus Stadium.
it is, isn't it? That's a nice little one for Fremantle. So I think they'll probably be ahead of them on the ladder in 3 weeks' time. So I'd have to say that's fair.
Damo, Sam Flanders' wet miracle soccer was enough to dethrone Nate Caddy's Thursday night overhead snap for goal of the round.
Fugazi, because I'm giving it to Ben Keys' receipt of ball off Josh Rochelle as goal of the year. I know what you're talking about with Flanders, but I love the Rochelle soccer
that was
kick
amazing.
to Keys.
That
And
was amazing.
I know it required 2 players to hit peak performance in that passage of play, but to me that was the one. But I do respect the Flanders goal.
Are we giving that assist enough love? Like, yes, it's brilliant. Yes, it's pretty to watch. The degree of difficulty there is off the charts. There's probably 4 players in the comp maybe that could do it with the skill set, let alone execute it when it presents.
Let alone try it. Not many players could try that kick in that situation.
And wait for the ball to spin at a certain angle to then angle your foot to hit it at the right angle.
So
but
good.
equally importantly, and don't underestimate what Ben Keys then
the
had
run.
to do. He had to
Yeah.
get it, which I know it's set up for him, but you have to then kick it from a fair way out.
Yeah, I think it was your network put out the onside offside
Fox,
rule.
you're allowed to say,
That was
you're allowed to
funny.
say Fox footy.
That was funny.
What they do? They put the offside
Your
rule.
network.
That was very clever. That was
That
good.
was very good. It was onside.
Daisy, Hawthorn has lost the tackle count cumulatively by 67 over the last 2 weeks. They will lose that statistic again tomorrow night against the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs are a very good tackling side. I'll say Fugazi. Look, their pressure, that being Hawthorn's, last year, I remember the game where they beat the Adelaide Crows in a dominant fashion in Adelaide. And it might have been Tex Walker post-game said that is the closest we've felt to Richmond-esque pressure from their dominant era. That's been the case. That hasn't happened this year. I think they can find it. They'll tweak a few little things. One is the intent, but also the position you find yourself in. So I think Fugazi that they will lose the tackle count this week, albeit against a side that does love to apply maximum body pressure. Joey, at the age of 32, Jamie Elliott is in career best form.
Fair income. Yeah, flying. He's having a great year, All-Australian year right now. So, that's a easiest fair income of the year.
We may have an All-Australian squad this year on actual position. Forward pocket, Jamie Elliott, a full forward, a forward pocket, Ollie Dempsey on a wing. It may not be stuck with midfielders. We may actually be able to pick a side that could go out and play positional football.
Jack Higgins in the forward pocket.
Yep. Damo, despite the loss, that was the Eagles' best performance of the last 12 months.
Without being fully across in this moment, every
I'll
game
take
they
it if
play,
you
but
want.
I'm going to go fair dinkum. Yeah, I love what they did. Look, bottom line is they lost by 43 points. So you look at the scorecard and you're not going to think too much of it down the track. But I thought there was a lot to like about what they did until early in the last quarter.
There is a caveat with the margins, because I think that McQualter is teaching them to play a brand of footy that's going to stack up down the track. But because of that brand, they are going to probably lose by bigger margins.
Yep.
You can play a different style and lose by less, but not really teach them how they want to play. So I think we've got to look at the style and what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
The margins are going to happen because of that aggressive style of footy, but I think it'll hold them in good stead down the track.
Yeah, their young players stood up too. I mean, Elijah Hewitt's goal that got them to within a kick, wasn't it, early in the last quarter? He found some form. And I thought Harley Reid played as well as he's played for maybe this season as well.
It's such a good pick-up, that. I love the fact that Mini's teaching them to get in the arm wrestle, because that's what you have to do. If you want to be the best side, you have to give yourself a chance every week to be in the contest, in the arm wrestle. It's just whoever folds first. Unfortunately, they can't sustain it for long enough at the minute. And finally, Daisy, I'll play some audio from Triple M across the weekend.
Swiskowski lasers a ball into Paddy Ross at centre half forward, who simply goes back and says, "Don't worry, boys, I'll kick this."
He backs himself with everything, doesn't he? He's reasonably confident in his own ability, I think.
50 bucks, you don't kick it!
He's done him!
He's picked himself up.
He's done him! Whoever that Suns fan is.
He's calling for it down there as well.
Whoever that Suns fan is sitting next to the effects mic has absolutely done Patrick Voss.
Patrick Voss owes that Suns fan $50.
Oh, that is 100% fair income. Well done.
Make a bet, got to stick to it.
He's one to watch, though. Paddy Voss, he could be cult hero sort of status.
He's the best strutter in the AFL
he gets
right
the
now.
chest out and the shoulders back like no one.
All the round 13 predictions and tips up next on Triple M's Midweek Rub with Joey, Daisy and Damo. Catch all the games across Triple M on the Listener app this weekend, starting with the first of round 13, the Bulldogs taking on the Hawks at Marvel. Who have you got, Joey?
I'm expecting Hawthorn to respond with their effort. The old honesty session they had, I think it was Sunday morning, they would have circled up and some real home truth. So I expect a much better performance. The tackling will be there. The effort will be there. I just don't know if they're in good enough form to actually find a way to beat the Western Bulldogs. So I'm going to have to tip the Dogs, but I think the Hawks will be very competitive.
I'm with you, Joey, and I find myself following you having the same opinions on some tips this year. I feel, even though the form would say the Bulldogs, I'm going to go with the Hawks.
Yeah, you can tip them, go that far.
I think the fact the Bulldogs are sitting ninth, I reckon they're probably the first or second rated side in the competition right now over what they've done. The ladder position, of course, is what it is, but I think the Bulldogs can win this pretty comfortably.
Damo, big game Friday night in Adelaide. The Crows taking on the Lions.
Yeah,
Did you see him up and about for it?
No, I just don't know how to read it.
Yeah,
I don't know how to read it. I love the Lions. They've only lost 2 games this year, and there were reasons for that, I feel. But equally, I'm coming around to the Crows. So in the run in talking here, I'm going to go with the Crows.
Same with me. Yeah, I'm all aboard the Crom at the minute. We know Brisbane are a very solid football side, have been for some time, but I think they're still upside to what Adelaide are doing, and at home they're pretty strong. So the Crows for me.
And I reckon the Thursday-Friday matches this round are as good as we're going to get all year. Yeah.
I'm changing my own mind on the run. I circled Adelaide, but just thinking about it, Brisbane will flex their muscle. They get motivated for the good teams this year. They've played average against the bad teams, but they have stepped up against all the good teams. As much as Adelaide are flying, they've beaten up on the bottom teams and haven't really proven themselves yet against the best. So I'm now changing my mind. I think Brisbane might just flex their muscle.
Nice 8-day break. I think the Lions they'll be ripe.
Oh, look at him.
Yeah,
So this is what happens. You're not allowed to go nuffy as a fan just yet.
My apologies. Daisy, Richmond, Sydney at the MCG, also interesting.
If you had told me at the start of the season that this would be pretty much a toss of the coin, I would have laughed you out of the studio. I'm going to stick with Sydney. I still believe in the Bloods culture. I think we're figuring out now that their depth isn't as strong as we probably once thought, and potentially we overlooked how important Errol Goulden as part of the big three was and how significant they went to the results a lot of last year. Sydney Swans with not a whole lot of confidence. And love what Richmond are doing, by the way. Adam Uze, tip your cap to you, son.
Loving what Richmond are doing. Their midfielders are in form. When Tom Lynch plays, they look like a different team.
Yeah.
Noah
Presty is back.
Noah Bolter will be able to play this one. It's a day game.
Yes,
is that right?
he will be able to.
So Noah Bolter's going to be pretty. You know what? I'm going Richmond.
Well,
I don't know about Sydney. Like as much as I expect a response from Hawthorn, I think Sydney have had the similar sort of week. They've done the 6 a.m. See that, Daisy? They did the beach session. 6
love
a.m.
them.
Oh, the old push-ups on the beach and jump in the cold water. But I don't know. I think there's some. I've already said their spirit's broken. I think Richmond. I'm going to give them a chance to win this at the G.
okay. I'm going to go with the Swans, but I've got no confidence in saying that.
Joey, then we go down to GMHBA, Geelong taking on the Suns.
Yeah, good challenge for Gold Coast. Hard to tip against the Cats at home. Damo, I know you'll come with me on this one. So looking forward to the game. I really enjoy watching Gold Coast play. I love watching the Cats play, but I'll tip Geelong.
Yeah, I think they're a massive chance to the Suns, but you know my mantra and my logic, Cats.
Suns have won 2 of the last 3 against the Cats. I'm going with the Gold Coast Suns. It'd be a good win down there at GMHBA.
Damo, then in Canberra, it is the Giants and Port.
I'm worried about the Giants, but I'm more worried about Port. So on that worry scale, Giants.
A sliding worry scale.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel you. I'm coming with the Giants, but more concerned about Port.
Yes, I think Giants might fill their boots in this one, even though they're not playing great. This might be a game they can win by 40 plus.
Daisy, King's birthday eve, Carlton and Essendon at the G.
Oh, how good's this going to be? Can I see the Blues doing anything? The answer is yes, with zero confidence. Look, they've got a pretty decent month coming up, Carlton. If they can win this one. And
if they win them.
Yeah, and again, this is the big caveat with them. I will be tipping them. No confidence, still disappointed in what they've done, but they have half a season to rectify.
I've got the same logic and rationale.
I have no scars with Carlton. I don't have any interest, but I'm very confident they win this. I think the Blues will win. Yep.
They didn't go down the Kerno farm on the break, though.
They didn't?
No.
They'll be right.
If that had changed your mind, I would have been worried.
And then, Joey, to bookend a cracking round, it is the King's birthday game, Melbourne and Collingwood at the G.
No, we have to go the Pies, the way they're playing. Melbourne have been in good form. They were disappointed. They only lost that because of their accuracy in front of goal against St Kilda. Otherwise, they could have won 6 of their last 7. But I'm going to tip Collingwood.
You just cannot, in my eyes, tip against Collingwood at the moment, so Pies.
Likewise, they
and can't believe how disrespectful you were.
I missed game at the round.
That is so rude. They've
got a home game too.
It's fine to just ask Joey and I because you know the other answer.
Damo, then Bunbury, North Melbourne hosting the West Coast Eagles.
Traditional home of Bunbury.
We just pumped up the Eagles a moment ago. Eagles.
Kangas.
Kanga. Yes. They'll win. Kanga should.
Should they be winning this?
Of course they should.
But you don't want to tip them. They should be winning this game of football. If they're moving...
They've won 2 matches.
I'm starting to come around to Damo. I can't believe Richmond are ahead of them on the ladder.
Richmond should have beaten them too.
Kangaroos should be way advanced on Richmond.
I think I said...
Richmond should be 5 wins.
Yeah, I know.
They should have beaten GWS last week and they should have beaten North 3 weeks ago.
I reckon I said it might have been last year or even the year before that by the midpoint of one of the seasons, they could nearly be contending for an 8th spot, North Melbourne, when they cut their losing margin from 100 points to like 5 goals. From that point, it hasn't gone
Hasn't
forward.
improved yet, no.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, on that flat sort of angry
Yeah, I know.
note at the end.
Well, it's your fault, Will, because you left that to last.
No one do it to us every week on this show.
Catch every game across round 13, including that Bunbury Classic on Triple M and the Listener app, starting tomorrow with the Thursday Rub ahead of the Bulldogs and Hawks from Marvel Stadium with Jack Heverin, Kate McCarthy, Isaac Smith and Jay Clark. This has been Triple M's Midweek Rub.